All right, what is up, my dudes? Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. The very first time doing this, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, so if you enjoy me talking, you're going to love this video. But I have realized over the years that there are a lot of bands who put out 2 albums in the same year, and many times they are 2 albums that many people hail to be some of the greatest of the discography. And today I thought I would kind of do an album versus album. You know, you have 2 albums released in a year. What's the best one? So today I'm going to be going with 2 that I'm very familiar with. Love both of these albums. Love this band. And that would be Stained Class and Hellbent for Leather, released by Judas Priest in 1978. Stained Class came out first. It's their 4th LP, and it came out in February of that year. And Hellbent for Leather came out in October of that year, but it's also called Killing Machine. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to call it Hellbent for Leather because most people refer to it as Hellbent for Leather nowadays. So there you go. So first of all, this will be nice because both albums have the same exact lineup for each album. So we have Rob Halford on vocals, Glenn Tipton and KK Downing on guitar, Ian Hell on bass, and Les Binks on drums. And this is the second album that Les Binks played on for Judas Priest. Overall, I just want to focus on the actual songs within the track listing. That's like my main focus. But that doesn't mean we're going to bring up some other things too. So I'm going to go like head to head for opener, closer. And for these particular albums, I'm going to do the cover song on each album, the hallmark track, the big track on each album, and the title track. So some of those are kind of specific to these albums. But those are what we're going to be ranking them off of. Let's just talk some basic stats for Stained Class. It's the 4th LP by Judas Priest. It has 9 tracks. It's 43 minutes long. It follows up Sin After Sin. And there's lots of great tracks on here, including Exciter, White Hot, Red Heat. The big cover on there is Better By You, Better Than Me. Probably more popular for the lawsuit that happened than the actual track listing. Stained Class, the title track, I think it's excellent. Invader, they've been bringing that back into the live set. We have other songs like Saints in Hell, the closer Hero's End, and of course the massive Beyond the Realms of Death. The only song on here that I'm kind of in on is Savage, which is number 7 on here. Overall, incredible album, absolutely amazing. Now we go to Hellbent for Leather. Same thing, absolutely incredible album. It's the 5th. It follows up Stained Class, got released the same year, obviously. And this one, even though it's 11 tracks, at least for the US version, which we're going to be focusing on, the runtime's only 38 minutes. So compare that, 38 minutes versus 43 minutes, less tracks, more tracks. It's kind of interesting. But for here, we have Delivering the Goods, Rock Forever, Hellbent for Leather, the big track on there. Take on the World, which is kind of like a strange song to me. Burnin' Up, which they've never played live, but that is one of my favorite underrated Judas Priest songs. The cover on there, Green Man Alicia with the 2-prong crown, Running Wild, Before the Dawn, Evil Fantasies is closing it off. So there are some other tracks in there like Killing Machine and Before the Dawn. I like Before the Dawn a lot. Killing Machine, on the other hand, is kind of a weak track to me. It's probably the weakest on the album, which is odd because it's technically the title track. But overall, I mean, there's 10 really good songs on there, and Killing Machine is still pretty good, even though it's not one of my favorites. If we compare the two sound-wise, I mean, Stained Class is more progressive. I think it's more melodic. There are big choruses on here, and the guitar is a little bit more cutting to me, which I think is different than on this one. It's a little bit more chuggy, and the difference is that I think there's way more fuzz on here. There's more distortion on the guitar here, but it's really more hard rock, as opposed to this is a little bit more progressive rock, I think. And this one's just a little bit catchier. There's big melodic choruses on here, but this is just a little bit more flashy. The songs are shorter. It's a little bit more focused on like, okay, this is the riff, let's just keep going from there and change it up a little bit, and then we're done. So there's a lot of songs on here that are like 2 to 3 minutes as opposed to this. There's tracks on here that could be anywhere from like 3 minutes to 6 minutes. I mean, they're both obviously Judas Priest, but even on here, like Rob Halford's vocals are a little bit more falsetto, a little bit more gruff. As opposed to this, it's a little bit more old school, really sing-songy. It's a richer tone for his voice. So there's some differences here for sure. This band, to me, feels like, okay, we got to try something different. And this kicks off kind of their 80s sound a few years early. Whereas this sounds a little bit more like a continuation on what we were hearing with Sin After Sin and Sad Wings of Destiny, with a more epic kind of sound. So let's kind of go track for track. So we have the opener. On here, it's Exciter. On here, it's Delivering the Goods. This is a tough one. I love both songs almost equally. They are both incredible songs. But I think when it comes down to what's more memorable to me, I would say Exciter kind of wins with the opening track there, just because I like that song better. But as far as like kicking off the album, Delivering the Goods really tells you, all right, this is what I'm in for. So that's kind of a tough one, but I think personal preference, I like Exciter more. Let's go straight into the closer. So we have Hero's End on here and Evil Fantasies on here. I feel like Evil Fantasies kind of doesn't really do anything new on this album. I'm not really hearing anything different than I heard on the rest of the album. Whereas opposed to Hero's End has an insane riff. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a drab closer. Once again, I would probably go with Stained Class on this one. Say Hero's End is just a little bit better. This is where things get a little dicey, I think, and that would be the cover song. Both albums have cover songs on them. On here we have Spooky Tooth's Better By You, Better Than Me, and on this one we have the Green Man Alicia with the Two-Prong Crown by Fleetwood Mac. Two very different sounding covers, two different sounding bands from which Judas Priest is taking from. So I'm like, okay, which one is better here? I think when it comes down to it, Green Man Alicia with the Two-Prong Crown is just a better song. And I think Judas Priest make that cover song sound better. I think it sounds better than the original, and I think a lot of people do too. But it's very dynamic. I like the melody a lot. Where it comes into the album is kind of refreshing a little bit. You're like, oh, okay, this is kind of nice. As opposed to Better By You, Better Than Me, really solid track. It doesn't feel like Judas Priest did as much with it as they do with Green Man Alicia to make it their own. So that's why I have to go with Green Man Alicia on this one. As far as a Hallmark track, so this is a little my personal opinion, right? So to me, on here, it's Hellbent for Leather. And then on here, it's Beyond the Realms of Death. So to me, this is strange because the way that I'm ranking these, Stained Class has the better song. Beyond the Realms of Death is like a really epic, cascading song that really shines out to me, like as a really standout track. Like, wow, Judas Priest made that song. That was incredible. But then when you go with Hellbent for Leather, that's the song that kind of propels them in a way into kind of a different market, a different sound. That one's a little bit more in your face, and it's just such an awesome song. It's easily recognizable to the public. So Hellbent for Leather is so much different than Beyond the Realms of Death. But when it comes to Judas Priest songs, I mean, personally, I think Beyond the Realms of Death is just a cooler song. But I think Hellbent for Leather is a more digestible song. That's one where you can be like, oh, have you heard of Judas Priest? No? Listen to Hellbent for Leather. So that's kind of a tough one. But I think overall, when it comes to what is the better song, I'd have to go with Beyond the Realms of Death. That's just the one I like more. Moving on, title track. As far as this goes, Stained Class was the song I liked from this album first. So this is once again kind of a tough one. I think Stained Class has a bigger hook, bigger melody. Really like it. As far as the title track goes, once again, Hellbent for Leather. You know, I've already said everything I can about that one. And, you know, I'm just kind of surprised because I'm going with Stained Class again, which is very odd to me because I like this album more overall. But when we compare it to these 5 kind of categories, this is the better album. This is a tough one. It really is. Like I said, if I kind of compare it by like, oh, you know, is the opener better? Is the closer better? You know, Stained Class. But if I just look at them raw, like, okay, what's the better album to me? What's the one I come back to the most? It's Hellbent for Leather. So with that being said, I personally love Hellbent for Leather. I think it's a better album. I think it progressed the band into a different direction, which they desperately needed at that point. But this album is absolutely incredible. Just so good. Both of them are absolutely incredible. I just prefer Hellbent for Leather more. So, with that being said, I want to know what you guys think. Which of these albums from 1978 are your favorite? Do you prefer the more progressive Stained Class, or do you prefer the more cutthroat Hellbent for Leather? Please let me know in the comments. I had a lot of fun writing down everything that I loved about all of these albums and kind of dissecting them. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It just lets me ramble on about albums, which is one of my favorite things to do. So please tell me, which of these Judas Priest albums are your favorite? They are both incredible, both legendary albums, and I would love to know which of the two you prefer. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay heavy, stay safe, and look forward to more of these videos coming soon, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.